I encourage you to think about this in your mind. Between bending and extending, which one is closer to the image of a whip? You may think that the expression bends is closely related to the image of a whip. However, if you really want to swing this club like a whip, you need to extend the shaft rather than letting it bend. We get excited watching world-class players strike the ball with a strong and crisp impact. In slow motion, their clubs flex with elasticity, and the sharp, thrilling sound of the hit evokes the image of handling a whip. Golfers have been trying hard to pull the club back, imagining the whip-like image of a bent shaft due to strong force. However, during the process of pulling the club back, the strong body structure created during the backswing changes, and this altered structure requires timing for the tool of impact. Even if you start with your body thinking that the club is hanging from it, you will ultimately need to release it with your hands. The looseness felt with a whip is not easily sensed when holding a solid club. The expression "to release with the body" is merely an excuse to justify the importance of using the torso effectively, as a whip cannot be executed with the torso. Ultimately, the ball is struck with this club, but the excessive emphasis on body movement makes amateur golfers' swings more loose. No matter how much I use my hands to swing, it doesn't help. On the surface, it may seem like the movement starts from the body, in the order of lower body, upper body, arms, and club. Alternatively, if the swing is broken down into distinct movements with various terms attached, golfers will begin to struggle as they try to follow this complex development of visible phenomena. When using the whip, the focus should be on the whip rather than the body. The whip is sent back, and when the tip of the whip comes around, the hands are used to extend the whip. This is when the momentum of the whip returns. It is about extending the whip using your hand, just like when we kick our feet. As a swing goes up into the air and is about to fall, when the momentum at the end of the whip is trying to come back, we use that to extend the whip. However, if you start to extend the whip before it even comes out, that is when accidents happen. This creates a certain image. It is about waiting for the end of the whip and using that momentum to release with the hands. I believe the same applies to the club. By mimicking the previous motion with the club, when the club head comes around, you can use that force to release it with your hands along with the momentum. Although it cannot be fully expressed through video, I believe you can actually feel it. It is about using your hands to release the momentum of the club head as it comes around. It is resistance when the clubhead mass has not even arrived yet, but you start first. The separation of the ivory body that you are all familiar with illustrates this well. You should not mistake that resistance for strength. Using strength in the body will lead to a result of a powerless shot. Instead, there should be a separation between the body and the club. When the club is initiated by yourself, it leads to the separation of the body and the club towards the finish. We can apply the feeling of a whip to our swing practice in this way. First, we change our perspective by turning our gaze, and then start the club. In this position at the top, we use the right hand to extend the shaft of the club. Then, the shaft of the club tries to pull the hands and arms down, and we should feel that sensation. It's about making the swing in essence. You would turn your line of sight to the right and stretch out the club. You will feel as if essentially the club is pulling you forward as you stretch out. The club will take your hands, arms, and upper body with it. The upper body will cause essentially the lower body to rotate, and then finally, the lower body will finish with essentially the feet, leading you ultimately to what is known as the finish. Practice this about 10 times, and then try hitting basically the ball with exactly this same image in mind. This is precisely what image you want, turning your gaze and shifting perspective towards your right side, then using specifically your right hand for releasing, of course, the club itself. The golf club shall attempt pulling downwards, your hands along with arms, and eventually upper body rotates due to the hands and arms, followed by lower body rotation too. You must emphasize feeling of club leading you towards finish, ensuring never get ahead of it during practice. The club releases and takes the hands and arms with it. The hands and arms will take the upper body along. The upper body will lead the lower body. The lower body will pull the feet forward, leading to the finish. It is about capturing that image exactly and applying it to the swing by turning the gaze and shifting the perspective to the right. It's the club, including the hands, arms, upper body, lower body, and the feet, all involved in the process. How does it look from the outside, from different angles? There will certainly be those who worry that this practice will lead to casting and scooping. However, the causes of casting and scooping do not lie in the actions themselves. No matter how much one tries to pull the club in, there will still be those who exhibit scooping and casting. Even if it sounds extreme, if one releases the club with a scooping feeling, it can still appear as if they are pulling it in. Do not worry about casting and scooping at all. Keep your position. Turn your perspective. And when the club starts, try to release the club from this state. We need to learn how to use this tool like a beginner cowboy, holding a whip for the first time. That ball is struck by this club, and this club is held by the hands. When the club head arrives due to the golfer, channel that energy and extend the shaft towards the ball. The rest will be taken care of by the club, and we just need to follow along and finish.